and Lisa, we're just waiting for it to go live. Okay, here
There it
we go.
goes.
I'm letting Jen Lucia in.
Jen, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:01. All right. So we do have, just so everybody knows, Bonnie and Lisa are from the financial firm that we're going to speak with a little while, just so everybody knows. And Ruth, are you good with all the other folks listed here?
I am. Thank you.
All right. That's Doug, I think, right?
Yeah, Doug, you need to mute. I'll mute him. There we go.
Thank you. Okay, so the agenda, before we do the approval, just so you know, I switched new business and unfinished business again this month, so we can have our guests speak first, so they can drop before we go back into our regular stuff, okay? So are there any edits or additions to, or corrections to the agenda? Anybody? Need to accept the, a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
Lamoille will make that motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Dustin. That's John? Second?
Yeah.
Okay. Last call, any changes or additions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we got that done. Secretary's report, everybody should have received a copy. It would have been the second version, I believe, Ruth, that went out. So, are there any corrections to the secretary's report? Okay, I need a motion to accept the secretary's report as presented.
Rutland County.
Rutland? Need a second?
Windsor County will second it.
Windsor? Last call for any corrections on the secretary's report? All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Nay? We're good there. Treasurer's report? Stephen?
All right. Hello, everyone. For the treasurer's report, it was sent out via email. I'm going to read through the highlights. So operating cash is currently at $2.18 million. It's lower than last year, which was $2.7 million. This is due to earlier season riding and grooming payouts. I do want to note the balance in our operating account is currently adequate to pay for our expenses into the start of the next season. And the reduction in cash year over year is not really a concern at this point. Turning to revenue, our year-to-date revenue is $3.2 million, exceeding our budget by about our budget of $2.8 million by $390,000. This is driven mostly by our membership revenue, $2.6 million, which exceeds our budget by $341,000. Cindy sent out the TMA report, so it's pretty evident why we're over budget. Interest income totals about $38,000, which is above our budgeted expectations. Moving on to expenses, our current year-to-date actual expenses are $1.8 million compared to a budget of 1.5, which is about $288,000 over budget. This is driven by our trail expenses, which is about $1.2 million, which is $218,000 over our budget. And again, that's due to our grooming and seasonal condition, our seasonal conditions. Heavy snow melt and thaw in March will significantly reduce our expenses over the next 2 months, and our year-to-date variance to our budget is expected to improve. All other costs in our financials are in line with our general expectations. Our year-to-date net income is $1.4 million compared to a budget of 1.3, bringing us over budget by about $102,000. And compared to last year's year-to-date net income, it's $203,000 lower. And again, just mostly related to timing and trails expenses. As I mentioned earlier, our membership revenue continues to perform strong this fiscal year. Both in-state and out-of-state TMAs are showing gains, and trails expenses are just mostly elevated just because of the earlier season we had this year. Anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion to accept treasurer's report.
Essex, need a second?
Lamoille will second that motion.
Anybody have any questions for Stephen? Quiet. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed, nay? Okay. So first on our new business, we have the Trust Company of Vermont. They're going to do an overview of their company. We're not going to talk investments or anything like that. This is the company that the Finance Committee has selected. I'm going to turn it over to you, Stephen, in just a second. So I just want to give them an opportunity to talk a little bit about themselves. What's going to happen after tonight is it'll go back to the Finance Committee and they'll make a formal proposal later on back to the board regarding how much money and things like that. So tonight is just to learn about the company, not to talk about investments, just so you can hear from them a little bit about what their company is as the Finance Committee works directly with them to fine tune what we're going to do. And we'll bring that to you guys at a later date. Everybody good with that before we start? Excellent. Stephen, would you like to do the handoff there?
I think you said basically all of it, Patty, but yes, the Trust Company of Vermont is here to present, tell us a little bit about their organization. And that's just about it. We're hoping to talk further upon approval of them as our investment company. So without further ado, I believe it's Bonnie from the Trust Company of Vermont.
Bonnie and Lisa are here,
And
Stephen.
Lisa. So
Okay.
thank you.
Yep, actually, it's going to be Lisa first.
It's nice to meet you all, even if virtually. This is probably one of the largest boards I think that we have met with. We have a few large boards, but I think you might take the cake for the largest. So Bonnie and I are both with Trust Company of Vermont. Bonnie is a portfolio manager. I am more of the eyes and ears on your team, seeing the whole picture as far as managing the relationship. And I do a lot of work with clients on financial planning and estate planning, but with boards also helping just to think through different, giving different perspectives on questions or problems you may be facing at a given time. Trust Company of Vermont as an organization was founded in 1999. Our 7 founders came from the bank trust departments. And what they learned in their time in those bank jobs was that there was a tremendous amount of disruption to relationships because of mergers and acquisitions over time. And they wanted to create a company that would be a source of stability for clients over the long term. And so Trust Company of Vermont was born. We are a Vermont company. We are chartered in Vermont, and we are set up always to be a Vermont company. We are employee owned, and we really owe our longevity, I think, in great part to being employee owned. We have very little turnover. We've only started seeing some retirements now with our founders starting to age out. So we love working here. We love our company. We love our clients. And we deal with, in many cases, multiple generations. And so our priority is making sure that our clients feel consistency over time, even as we as human beings may age and move on because of the experiences in the past. So when we work with nonprofits, I'll let Bonnie talk more about the investment side of things, but we're not a buy and sell, we're a buy and hold, and we have a very conservative approach looking at performance over time and sustainability and growth over time. And so I guess I don't want to dive too deeply into everything about who we are. That's who we are in a nutshell. I think we're still under 50 employee owners, so we consider ourselves quite small, but we're managing around $4 billion in assets now. So for a Vermont company, we're relatively good sized, and we're proud of that. We charge fees based on assets under management. our fee schedule. If anyone really wants to do a deep dive or have a look at who we are, tcvermont.com is our website, and it's full of information about who we are, where we came from, what we do, the services we offer, and our fees. We charge 1% up to the first million. It starts tiering down after that, and we offer our nonprofit clients a 10% discount. So we think it's a pretty reasonable and competitive fee for the services that we offer to our clients. Do you want to talk a little bit about our investment philosophy, Bonnie?
So I'm a portfolio manager. I've been doing this for many years. I started with a small bank called Proctor Bank way back, and probably, I don't know if anybody had ever heard of it, but actually met most of the people, the founders here at Vermont National Bank, which then turned into Chittenden, which is how we started our company. So I've been doing portfolio management for a long time. I work closely with nonprofits to design the portfolio. Again, I would talk with the finance committee to see risk tolerance, what we should put in bonds versus stocks, what you like to see for, I guess, stability in the portfolio. I won't get into it too much, but again, I've been doing this for quite a few years, have many nonprofits that I work with, and I think we work really well together. If there's any specifics that you have questions about, we can get into it. But I think we're a pretty decent company, and we love doing what we do. And I love working with clients and nonprofits in particular. And this one is a very interesting one to me.
We certainly learned a lot when we met with the finance committee. I've always been aware of Vast, but I did not really know as much about it as you have to offer. So it was an interesting learning experience for us. One of the different things about working with us than working with some other financial managers is that we really do design your portfolio for you. And so while we have a trust investment committee of about 10 people right now that work together to do research and to choose the assets that we hold, that we approve to hold. We have a list of approved assets that we hold. From that list, we create your portfolio. So we're not putting you in a model. We're not assuming that you're like anyone else. No two portfolios look exactly the same. And so really what we will be interested in over time is learning not only what your tolerances and what your preferences are for investments, but also what your goals are. And we'll work with you to figure out how to best meet those goals, both over the long term and perhaps short term, for whatever needs you may have from the portfolio to supplement your operating budget.
Thank you, both Bonnie and Lisa. So any questions regarding the company? We're not going to get into investments, in our selections, because we haven't even, the committee we have to formalize a proposal for the board, which would include how much money and things like that. But for the company itself, any questions that anybody on the board has for Lisa or Bonnie?
Would
I have
you
a
two,
question.
What? Let's do Dustin was first, and then I'll go to you, Doug. I think that's Doug. 1267, right?
Yes.
Okay.
sorry,
Go ahead, Dustin.
would you two be the main two people that would be handling all of our stuff?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Dustin. Doug?
Yeah, where's your company located?
So we have offices all over Vermont. I'm in, excuse me, I'm in our Manchester office. So, and then Bonnie's in our Rutland office. Our home office is in Brattleboro. We also have an office in Colchester. And we've recently, while we are always going to be a Vermont company, we have actually opened an office in Keene, New Hampshire. It being right next to Brattleboro. We were getting a huge amount of interest and requests for help from the New Hampshire area. And so it just made sense to expand just a little bit. And that seems to be very useful in this region.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Great question so far. Appreciate you guys keeping a business focus too on the company. Anybody else? So really the next steps is really the finance committee working with Bonnie and Lisa and talking about, our investment portfolio and what money, we want to invest, and then bringing that official proposal back to the board at some point. So,
I'll just add something.
go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah. So, we had a really good interview process with them, and it was not just us interviewing them, they were interviewing us to see if they would actually be interested in working with us. So this is like a multi-tiered approach to doing business together. And I thought that that was really cool that they at first were apprehensive because we're a nonprofit, but once we got into like how we do things and how we operate and how we're regulated, it sparked their interest. So as executive director, I'm just saying that I personally felt like the finance committee did their due diligence, and so did the Trust Company of Vermont. And the recommendation from the Trust Company of Vermont came from one of the finance committee members. And we did interview a few other banks and things like that. But anyway, it was just kind of I'm just giving you an insight into the personal emails that happened between Bonnie and Lisa and myself and Patty, that it was sort of a feel good experience and very professional. And yeah.
I appreciate hearing that, Cindy. It's one of the things that matters most to us is that the relationship works on both sides. That's the foundation for a long-term relationship. So if we aren't starting off on the right foot, there's no way we can last for years or generations. So we really appreciate the time that you took and the willingness that you showed in letting us do our own due diligence.
And I will have to say, Cindy and I did talk about this a little earlier. The finance committee is so strong, and really, since we opened it up to all members, anybody wanted to join a committee over the last 2 years, we got some great financial background people on this team. And Stephen's leading that. And I know I feel extremely comfortable with what the finance committee is doing and what their recommendations are as well. Very impressive group of folks, all entrenched in the field. So they know their stuff.
That's wonderful. We love working with people who are passionate about what they do.
Excellent. Jeff, I think it was more of a clarification question. So we're not getting into the weeds of things, but he did ask for clarification because you did mention it. So I will ask the question. Let's see here. The 1%, and then you said 10% discount. Is that a monthly or annual number?
So it's an annual number, but it's charged monthly on the market value at month end. So for example, you're basically multiplying by that 0.9 on an annual basis just to get the round number. But then you'll look at the market value at the end of the month, you'll multiply by 0.9, divide by 12, and that's the amount that you're paying for that month. You're always going to see on your statements, it's going to be, I think, the first line item on the transactions part of your statements. You'll be able to see the fee and the amount that it was calculated on. So again, we value transparency when it comes to fees.
Excellent. Okay. And Jeff said thank you. So you answered his question.
Good.
Anybody else have a question for them? No? All right. Well, Bonnie and Lisa, you're more than welcome to hang out, but usually folks don't. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing what the Finance Committee puts together. Stephen, any last words on your part?
No, I also want to just reiterate thank you for attending our meeting and presenting about your company.
Happy to be here. Happy to meet you all.
Thank you, ladies.
So much.
Take care.
All righty. Now, simpler things. The money stuff scares me a little bit, but anyway. All right, Cindy, you're up. The towing waiver.
Yeah, okay. So it came out of a county meeting, I think it was Windsor County, that talked about towing and liability. So we had Hans take a look at it, and there is a waiver form now on our website on the forms page. and it's actually been updated since the first version. So if you downloaded it when I first posted it last week, we updated it and reposted it to have information at the bottom so you could write down who the person is and the vehicle type and things like that, just so everybody has a record. But basically what it's for is that a lot of times we've got vehicles out on trails that are being towed, and whether they're being, by a groomer or whatever else, a tracked ATV by a club. This is sort of a waiver to make sure that if there's damage done to that vehicle or that snowmobile, that there's a waiver that the owner of that vehicle needs to sign. So that's on the forms page now. And if anyone thinks there needs to be additional updates, thank you to Essex County and Lynn Mixer for, offering a few ideas to add to it. But it's on the, because we see it more and more, right? Every county's got somebody driving on a trail. And so this is just to help cover you guys. And anyway, and Hans, yeah, and if I didn't mention it, Hans actually wrote the language, so our attorney has written the language.
And if your club has in their policy that they don't tow, you don't have to use the waiver. So, just follow your club policy. But if you do any sort of towing, this provides you a little bit of coverage.
Yeah, it won't cover if it's a commercial operator. So if you're actually sending somebody a bill to tow them, no, it's not going to cover you. But if you're actually just asking for a donation to your club, then, it will, because you're a volunteer. But if it's a towing company, it's not, they have their own insurance and waivers. This is
Any
just for
questions
clubs.
for Cindy on the waiver? I think it's a nice little adder out there for the clubs. All right. Still on, Sin.
Okay.
Game cameras.
Yeah, so we're going to start a program next winter. I thought about it last summer, didn't start it this winter, but I've gotten a few ideas. Jim Hill, thank you for sending me the link that you sent me. Basically, what we're going to do is Vast is going to buy 6 to 8 trail cameras and software for it to loan to clubs. And so there's a couple of different versions here. We're going to have like an application process to borrow the cameras, and you have to have landowner permission. The other aspect of that is if you have your own cameras that you own or someone from your club owns, we're also going to have a sort of a waiver that you need to get the landowner's permission, because it is against the law to place a camera on someone's property that the landowner's not aware of. And most of the time they are. All the time they're happy about it because you're out there trying to stop off trail riding or whatever they're doing. But anyway, so 2 different things. So there'll be a form for an application to borrow cameras from Vast, and we will provide them. And then also the other is if you have your own cameras, we're going to have like a sort of a generic thing that you can present to a landowner for your own cameras, just to get their permission.
Any questions on that? I know that came up in Windsor County as well, because folks would just want to make sure they weren't going to get in trouble if they put a camera, even though the landowner asked them, they just wanted to be CYA on it. So, and Cindy had been talking about it since last year, so it just all came together really nice. So, any last minute questions? Oh, I hear somebody.
Now, what's the intent of the camera? I mean, what are we doing it for a specific reason, or?
Well, yes. I mean, yeah, clubs are interested, like if there's an off-trail riding, like a specific area where it's happening, they want to be able to capture what's going on. So to hopefully not lose landowners.
Okay. Can we really do anything with it if we have somebody on camera off-trail riding? Can we really?
Yes.
No. Yeah, I mean, there's trespassing. Go ahead, Mark.
So an example yes, you can. If you have clear pictures, there's a couple of things you can do. You can turn that into, in our case, the Washington County Sheriff, and especially if there's a clear picture of registration or TMA, they'll get that information and go visit them. You can post it on social media and say, hey, this person was pictured going off trail. Does anyone know him? Some people do it themselves. They film their activities off trail and post them to Facebook, where they're then pointed out and given hefty tickets after bragging about having going off trail. That happened to a club in our county. So yeah, there are things you can do, and the law enforcement can use that as evidence when approaching someone and asking them, "This is you. I see your snowmobile. This is the same. This is the same TMA or registration."
Wow. Stan?
Yeah, it was brought up at the governor's council and the law enforcement. I don't remember which one, whether it was Paul Doucette or whether it was Jacob, but they did say that if there was clear picture of a identifying number, so whether it's TMA registration, whatever, that they could act on that.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the cameras for Cindy? Or okay. Now we're going into old business. Mr. Hill, you're keep me honest here. So the Deerfield Valley stump jumpers, we have some motion cleanup to do. I did put in the agenda what the motions were at each of those meetings, so we don't have to be flipping around to see what was said when. And under the third one, a new motion would be the final step. I did put what the total vast payment was. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but so you have the numbers there as a reminder of what vast paid out. Okay, so first thing we have to do, and I guess we're working backwards, is rescind the February motion, and it's on there, and that was February 23rd meeting minutes. So I need a motion to rescind the February 23rd motion regarding Deerfield Valley payback. Is that all I have to say, Jim?
To be clear, does it have to be the
What?
person who made the motion?
I'm just asking Jim a question here. Here we go.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. And no, you're rescinding the motion, so you don't need the one that made the motion.
Okay. So I need somebody to make a motion to rescind the February 23rd motion regarding Deerfield Valley stump jumpers payback to Vast. Is that good, Jim?
Yes.
Because I know, okay, Ruth's capturing it, so that's why I wanted to make sure. Who would like to make that motion?
So moved, Orleans County.
Well, thank you, Roger. I need a second.
Windsor County will second it.
Okay, any questions or comments on that? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed to it? Okay, so that goes. Now we got to go back to January, and that was January 26th. So I need a motion to rescind the January 26th motion regarding Deerfield Valley stump jumpers payback to Vast.
Windsor County make the motion.
Windsor?
Orleans seconds.
All right. Any questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Now we're at a clean new motion. We're all good, right, Jim? I can move ahead with a clean one now. Yes, I got the nod. Got the blessing. Okay. So again, underneath number 3, it talks about the total. And then what 5K was for the food bank and 392146 was for legal fees. So I need a motion, and I know if you want to go back to what the latest one was, it was just for the legal fees, but that's up to you guys again as a clean motion. Somebody like to make a motion?
So I have a question. If we go in and we make a new motion and we make that number the 892146, then next month we're going to be right back in the same ballpark where we were last month, with DVSJ coming in saying, pleading their case ultimately, correct?
Well, they went through appeal, Mark, and I'm going to rely on you for process, but they went through the appeal process once. And during that appeal process, we just said the 392146. So my assumption is if we change that, they come back and reappeal it. Is that an accurate statement since the number changes?
It is because we, regardless of how you feel about it, that's what the board said they would do. They could appeal that decision because it is a new decision.
Does that answer you, Dustin?
Yes.
Okay.
I will add that they're all ready to pay it back. They already wanted to mail us half of it. They didn't want to have to wait until this happened. So I doubt it's going to happen. But yes, the process is what Mark and Patty have said.
They're the third or fourth largest club in the state. Of course they have the money. All right, I don't
Okay.
need to be snarky. Scratch that sword.
All right, I need a motion for Deerfield Valley to repay Vast and what that dollar figure is and the term.
Windsor County make a motion to request that Deerfield Valley Stump Jumpers pay back $3,921.46 in legal fees to Vast.
Okay. We need a second. Oh, the term first. I think last
to 2
time we
years.
said within the next 2 fiscal years.
Correct. Well, up to within 2 years, yeah.
Within the next 2 fiscal years. Just so it's full there. Okay, I need a second.
I will
Wyndham,
second it.
I didn't catch that at all. Did you, Ruth?
Wyndham.
Wyndham?
Let me just ask, is it appropriate for the Wyndham County Director to be seconding that? Does it matter? Jim?
Because it's a Wyndham County club, Jim. That's why he's asking.
Yeah.
Probably be better for me not to, correct?
Probably not.
Yep. Sorry, I'll rescind that.
Franklin will second it.
Mike Burns, Franklin?
Yes.
Thank you.
Who was the first who made the motion?
Windsor County, Doug?
Thank you.
So that was the Deerfield Valley payback, 392146 and legal fees to Vast within the next 2 fiscal years was the motion. Any questions or comments? Oh, we got this nailed down pretty good. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Julianne, is Orange County, you were opposed last time. Where is she?
Same.
You're opposed? She said,
Yeah, you're muted, Julian.
Yes, opposed.
okay. I just want to make sure because you were the one that was opposed last time and I didn't want to miss out on that if that was still the case. Okay. You got that, Ruth? Okay, excellent. Well, that went a little bit smoother than I thought. Thank you, and thank you, Jim, for keeping us on the straight and narrow. All right. Good, GPS pilot. So we got the 6 clubs. I got a feedback summary, which is in your packet, all but Rogers. Rogers came in later, but his is in the Dropbox if you want his summary. Some great feedback from everybody. I appreciate the 6 clubs being honest and truthful. Out of the 3 vendors, there were 2 top that seemed to be consistent in the messaging from the different clubs as to what they preferred out of the 3 vendors. And the top 2 had very different reasons why they preferred them. So I would encourage you to look that over and share that information with your clubs. What's going to happen next? I've got my little sticky note here to keep me on track. So Ruth, it'll be a little easier for you. The next steps. All right. Again, review the county's directors. Please review the summaries or share them at least with your county clubs. So there's no surprises later on when decisions are made. During the April time frame, the pilot clubs will receive some sort of scoring survey. So it won't be a generalization. It'll be, I'm making this up on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. Can you rate your training experience with this firm? Training experience with, all different 3 as an example. So it'll be scoring, which will be a little more finite in the rating process. The May-June timeframe, some sort of cost analysis so we can get an idea of where we stand as far as what each of these vendors will cost us. And then the biggest nut of it is going to be the data analysis has to be finalized. And I'm hoping that'll get done in probably won't be till mid to late summer. And what Matt is planning to do is have some meetings with the pilot club so you can do a comparison of your grooming data that you log versus what is seen in each of the different companies regarding the grooming data. So you can work together as a team, the pilots with Matt on that. Then it'll come to this board at some point in time. The decision will be, what do you want to move forward or not? Or do you want to, is there a need for a plan B? Do we have to do another set of testing of whatever sort that may be or requirements? So the board, it won't be a cut and dry, we're going to make a decision by then. Well, we hopefully will make a decision by the end of summer, but there may be, when you're all meeting, something that comes up and you all collectively decide and you bring that to the board that, hey, we really want to test X in it before we make a final decision, whatever X is. I'm just giving examples. And I do want to recap that when we do make our final decision, I talked about this at the last meeting, maybe even last two meetings, that it will be a weighted portion. So like 25% will come from the club's experience and feedback from the operators on the field. I mean, another 25% will probably come from what is it going to cost us? We have two vendors that are lined up neck and neck. Maybe the cost is a big differential between the two of them. That may come down to the board making a financial decision versus a vendor decision if they're all other things are pretty much lined up with those two vendors except for cost, right? But 50% of it is going to come from the data analysis because none of this is worth moving ahead if the data isn't what we need. Because we don't want to be redoing this. So we need the data to be good and the best that it can be, and 50% of the rating will be in that. And that will all come together to the board at some point, hopefully this summer, unless, again, Matt working with those pilot clubs, they uncover something that says, aha, we need one more piece of information before we can make a decision. Is there any questions on that plan or any comments or any, hey, you're way off base, or hey, have you considered why we're still formulating all this? Everybody okay with it? Oh, there you go, Matt.
One thing that I feel like, I'll be honest, I don't feel like we're ready to make a decision on this, and I don't feel like we will be by this fall. The reports that I've been able to get from the three companies that are doing this are, all of them are lacking somewhere. Some of them are pretty much non-existent. So I think, and sorry I didn't talk to you about this earlier, I actually just kind of came to this conclusion today, looking at some stuff and trying to wrap my mind around it better for tonight. And I just don't have the data and the reports that I need to really look at what I need to. So I'm like, I really can't make a good decision. So I think I want to reach out to all of them and say, here's what I want for reports. Next winter, I need to have these reports built before next winter so that when this data is coming in, we can look at the reports and see who can do what, and we'll see who's responsive and who's not responsive.
Maybe we can get some of that stuff in reports even before then. That's why I thought working with the clubs this summer, saying, going through the chat, and they may provide information too of things that they want, so I think we need to do that collectively in-house. And I did say, when we come at the end, if there's other things that we want, and then we will work on that versus making a decision. I'm not saying a hard decision needs to be made by August 31st. I'm saying is by the end of the summer, we need to know, are we making a hard decision or have we identified something else that we need to test? Is that fair? Cindy, I see you came back in here.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think what we need to just say is we've been down a really bad road for a few years, as we all know. So we want to make sure we take the time to investigate this in that everybody's comfortable before we move forward. So the idea is that, and Matt's going to talk about this, having meetings, with the clubs that are in the program, as well as with the companies. And so, yeah, we just want to make sure that we get it right this time. And
Totally agree.
it's not us getting it right, but that they are on top of their technology and they can offer us what we need, and then that the costs align with what we're comfortable with, as an organization, and that's the board that will decide that.
Okay, I have Mike Stewart's up first, and then Jeff.
Yeah, Patty, and Matt, if we're gonna go down this road again, which it looks like we're probably gonna, I would suggest that we have a different sample base, on the next go around for different counties or different clubs.
That's a good. We'll take that suggestion under consideration if we go that path, right? So, like I said, we'll wait and see what happens this summer. Matt's going to be meeting with the clubs, go through the data analysis, do comparison to their log sheets and stuff like that, see what's in the reports, and see what the companies can do. If we can't make a decision, we'll take that under consideration, Mike. And I'm Ruth writing it down, so we'll have it in the minutes. Okay?
Yep.
Jeff Fay?
So what have we actually been getting for data for the last 4 months? If you're not getting reports, what was the whole, I mean, I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around why we went through this process if the 3 companies didn't know what we were going to want for reports. I mean, you're getting data points, obviously, but it seems like we've wasted 4 months if they didn't have any idea what we wanted for reports.
Jeff, like if I can answer, it wasn't a waste. What we were trying to do this winter was make sure that the GPS units actually worked. Because in the past, we had GPS units that weren't working, that were missing data points and all of that. So that was the biggest thing for us, was just making sure that we could find GPS units that actually worked. Now the report side it should be fairly simple. It's not, I mean, needs to feel comfortable about the reports he's getting. And many of these companies are sending, or have that data, but it's making sure that some of these companies deal with the majority of snowmobile organizations, states, provinces pay by the hour. We pay by the mile. And so making sure that we're getting the mileage is important. Making sure that there are other things that we would like to gather from them, and that's where we're at right now. So the last 4 months was more of, how is the GPS unit working? How is it working for the clubs? Are they able to interact with it? Is it simple for them to send us the information? So it wasn't that it was wasted. It was just step 1 in a process. And now we're moving towards step 2.
Thank you, Cindy. Mike Burns?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Cindy may have already answered it, but I was just curious, and with Matt's comments, excuse me, the other states that are using GPS, are they also trying to get their mileage, if they do collect mileage, from a GPS, or are they just using it for a map service?
I think they're not even, some of them aren't even collecting it. Some of the companies that we've talked to, like one in specific, isn't even tracking mileage where we want to. Their data points are really great, but they're not tracking the mileage. And we want all of it.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
It did seem like New Brunswick and New Hampshire stuff, both their apps, I used quite a bit this year, and they're
doing it.
They seem to work really well.
Yeah, they're doing it by the hour. That's why. And so we just want to make sure we have the hours and the miles. So we're kind of at the point where the meeting that Matt's going to have with the clubs is more like a feel good kind of like, how are you comfortable with whether it's an app on your phone or the iPad you were given? Like, how did that work with your operators? There's a lot of moving parts to it that seem small, but they all sort of build into the same cake we're trying to ice.
And some data analysis, looking at their logs and what they're seeing in those reports, because it might help too with Matt with enhancements that to the vendors. Hey, this is what our clubs also want to see. Can you provide these factors in the data too? you know, when it's all pulled together. I mean, we're generalizing, and because, you know, the meeting hasn't happened or been planned yet. So at this point, we're just generalizing what those meetings will be like.
And if I can just add, this organization is always cutting edge. And that's the nice thing about it. Like, we're asking for things to happen before they've even been developed. And we are showing our expectations before they actually have the results. And so now we're sort of going, okay, we're going to, you know, they're at the point where they've developed this and it is working. And let's, you know, there are some other things like I want to find out personally. Like years ago, we were able to track ridership based on what kind of phone you had. I would like that added in at some point. That's just my personal thing. You know, like we had maps on, you know, if you were on an Android or an iPhone and you were using our map app, where were you riding? And it was showing ridership. I was looking at one of those maps last week, and that was from like 3 years ago. So there's so much that we can do with this, but we got to do it right.
So it's Mark and then Roger.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut up.
So I appreciate a conservative approach and not wanting to repeat mistakes, but I don't think our membership will accept another year without GPS data. I just don't think that that's going to go over well, and we need to do whatever we can to make this happen in a responsible way for this coming winter. We really do. That's my opinion. Like I said, I appreciate the cautious approach, not wanting to jump in, you know, head first and make mistakes, but I just don't know. Matt, you may not have had any complaints, but not everyone will complain directly. Um, you know, and again, this is my opinion. You take it for what it's worth, which is 2 cents.
And like I
So-
said, I've said, I'll reiterate, you know, I'm hoping we can have a decision by the
Right.
end of summer, but if we can't, we have to have a clear define as to why and what the next step would be that would delay that decision process. And
Right.
so we'll see what happens. Roger?
Yeah, I was just gonna agree with Matt in one instance. I think we need to make sure we're walking before we run. We want to make sure we're doing everything we can to make sure this system is perfected before it gets decided on indefinitely. I I think that the clubs have done a considerable amount of work, especially I feel like we have of just gathering the data, giving responses. Now we need to take that data and see what we can do with it. And if Matt's not getting what he needs, then the pressure needs to be put on those companies to give him what he needs. And if they can't produce, then they're done, right? So the data's out there. They should have it. So they need to be able to present it in a way that's going to work for us. And I think that, you know, I would hope that we can have that done and a decision made um, before next season. That would be really nice to not have to go through the pilot program again and just make a decision by then. But I agree, like if we need time to process it and make decisions, then Matt needs to be given that time.
Anybody else? It's a big item. It's a big ticket item. So we want to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's, right? Okay. So data capturing, Matt kind of already just gave us a little glimpse of he's struggling with the data. And Roger, your hand's up again. Are you still from last time? Okay. Before I move off of that, Stan, do you have a question about GPS or comment that hasn't been made? You're on mute, so. You're still on mute. I see you talking.
There we go. Didn't want to come. Didn't want to turn it on for some reason. At the county meeting, we have discussed this fair amount, and there was quite a bit of input that spoke to the cost of this, and some clubs felt that they throw around numbers like 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 a year. Their input is why can't we just stay with the paper logs. We're doing them. We've been doing them forever, and may not be as efficient as maybe this system would be, but the money could be spent better elsewhere. For maybe trail construction or equipment grants, that type of thing. But there was also the other side of the coin where people argued that it would be really nice to take that workload off of the volunteers that are out there grooming, and middle of the night having to stop and log in every intersection they come to, and the mileage from intersection A to intersection B and all of that. So, I mean, there's certainly, I think, speaking to Matt's comment, is that there's arguments on both sides of that coin. I don't know how you'd ever get a really good feel for how every club and operator really felt about it.
All right. So more to come on GPS. All right, and I just want to reiterate, thank you again for the pilot groups for responding and providing that data. And I know for the last 3 months I've been driving you nuts with those questions, and I appreciate the feedback, and it does give the rest of the board some feeling of what's occurring. So, and that way they're not blindsided later on too by decisions that are made. Roger?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on Matt's chat post. I was going to reply back to it on there, but I think, I agree. I haven't really heard much about any sort of complaints of not having GPS tracking or groomer tracking. And I think we're at a sweet spot where we haven't really provided that a lot yet, where people are used to it. But when we get into it and people get used to it, it's kind of like in Quebec, we're so used to it. We use it a lot to actually plan our routes, plan our trips. That if it's not there, it's definitely something that raises some flags for people. But I think we're new enough here where we can take the time we need to make that decision and get the right company going for this. And like I said, I in agreeing with Matt, I haven't heard a lot of complaints about it, but we're not at that point where we've used it as a resource as much as other places have.
The only thing I saw is on social media, people saying they can't see the grooming. There might have been a comment there or two there, but the other part is they pay extra for that. Is that still an option when they're for that app, is to have that data that we're not providing, right?
Yeah, I mean, they pay $5. I think somebody got shamed on
Yeah.
Facebook about it this weekend.
So that's the only
What do you
thing,
want
yeah.
your $5 back?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is because we have offered it in the past few seasons, and so there was sort of a diversion from that this winter where it wasn't. But I think Roger's right in the fact that once this gets up and running, and it is great, like we had a good product, but now we need to have a great product that actually works for everybody. We need to keep it great. And yeah.
All right. So I'm going to put GPS to bed for tonight, but I'm sure we'll have it on our agendas moving forward for the rest of the season and into the summertime. So it'll continue to be a point of conversation. Mr. Stewart, you got an email from me last week regarding Best and East. So Best has been providing their grooming logs, which is great news, and East has not. So I did provide that to Mike in advance so he could talk to that tonight.
Okay, well, that was a disappointing email, Patty. I'm glad to see that Best is doing what they're supposed to be doing. East, I spoke with Ed today. Ed is actually a little tech challenged when it comes to the Vast systems on the computer. I'm not sticking up for him by any means because it's not that hard to do. I know I was involved.
Those are log sheets he could have manually filled out and mailed or even mailed them.
Well, he was trying to do it online, but he was having problems.
Yeah.
I was involved in several email chains with Mandy and Ed on him getting access into using his club email, and Mandy was doing her best to work with him. So I jumped in. I think it was a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago or something, and I replied to both of them, and I said, Ed, call Roy Arthur. I gave him the phone number. He's our trails coordinator for Shrewsbury Snowbirds. And I said, I'll let him know you're calling, and Roy will help you to get in and do all this stuff. After I got the email, Ed had not called Roy. So there was no communication there. And I talked to Ed today, and he said that he finally figured it out himself, and that he sent all his grooming logs in like last Thursday or Friday. But he had a problem. He couldn't get past day or week 7. So he said it looked like my whole grooming log was on week 7. I don't know where it went to, if it got to anybody. I don't know.
All right, well, so if you could follow up with Mandy or Matt tomorrow on that then, versus trying to problem solve that here, that
Yep.
would probably be appropriate. I see Tim Hunch there too. So, but if they come back in non-compliance and not good standing, again, that's gonna be a much tougher discussion with this team here, I'm assuming this year. So
I'm gonna
I'm
tell you,
glad to see Best is doing what they said, so kudos to
Right.
them.
Patty, here's my recommendation, and I talked to Ed about this. This club needs to merge. We need to figure out how to do that. I tried doing that earlier this year. The East Club does not touch any other Rutland County trail. None. They touch Addison County. I spoke with Cindy about this earlier in the winter or in the fall, and I approached an Addison County club. I asked if it was okay if we could merge a Rutland County club to an Addison County club. And I did speak to the closest club to him. I can't remember who it is. Somebody, Jen could probably help me out with this. It's somebody from Champlain Valley Motorsports that runs that. And they were not receptive because they said they were an older base club. Guy that ran the club was 62 years old. Everybody else was older. There was one guy younger. So there's going to be he was saying he didn't want to take on that. And then Jen actually reached out to me probably about 2 weeks later or a week later and asked how many miles that they groomed. And we agreed that we might bring this up again in the spring. But I really think that this club needs to merge with somebody.
All right, so you and Jen obviously need, that's the next thing is for you and Jen to get together and start talking some specifics, it sounds like, director to director.
Right. If Jen wants to chime in, I'm more than welcome to hear from her tonight. If not, I can reach out to her. But it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be a great thing for Rutland County because we're in a position where we need to maybe merge a club or two, and I think it would be a great thing for Rutland County.
Well, I would suggest you and Jen getting together.
I can comment on that tonight.
There you are.
So we did discuss that, I think, not at the last county meeting, but the one before that. And there was some overall concern about the fact that we didn't want to merge clubs that were in different counties. I don't know what that necessarily entails as far as Vast is concerned, but that was a concern. Maybe there should be some follow-up on that on my end so I can explain the pros and cons of that to everyone. And then, yes, there was also the concern, the fact that, and it was Bridport that you had reached to. And, they struggle with active members and, they have talked about possibly in the future needing to close themselves because they just don't have the volunteers and they are all older. I certainly am up to discuss it some more. I don't know. Fran didn't seem real enthusiastic about it, but I'm happy to advocate. I think if we can make it work, it could be a good thing, but there's definitely a lot of hesitation.
Mike, I think you and Jen need to get together and chat because if we can't find a solution and East doesn't fulfill their obligations, that trail will be closed next year.
And I'm happy to join those conversations. It's not a hard thing to do it. I think the elephant in the room is snow. and volunteer levels. And I think that that's, Ed has been heading up that club before. We saw some of the same stuff before. And if you're trying to connect to a club that's as inactive or doesn't have the type of resources that Ed already doesn't have, that might not be the right solution. So maybe there's 3 clubs that could, and I'm more than happy to facilitate some sort of meeting and look at maps and talk to other clubs and county meetings.
Just as a footnote, Ed has told me that as far as trail signing, trail work, grooming, trail maintenance, anything like that, that his club could take care of. They're having problems with the paperwork. That's what it is.
Okay. Well, I don't think we're going to solve that here.
Yeah, we're not. We need to drill down to what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be in touch, let's start chatting offline about it. And the paperwork shouldn't be such a burden if he's got enough help. If he's trying to do it himself and he's not great with a computer, that's what happened before. And so we kind of need to move past it.
And that's the problem. That's
Yeah,
still
I
the
know.
problem.
I know.
Still the problem.
No, I know. I
Yep.
get it.
And he did talk to the board and said he was going to do it or get somebody to do it. So, but let's plan some meetings, over the next few months and figure out what the best possible step forward will be.
Okay.
So, all right. Cindy, you're up next with TMA sales. And one second, Matt. 1 second, Mike. Matt did respond in regards to the grooming logs in chat, so you can see that there too.
Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry, Cindy.
No, that's fine. No, we had a good year. I sent out the reports earlier today. Feel free to share those. We're at 21,707 transactions. That includes TMAs and club only. And so we are 2,000 above 2,000 above last year's transactions and 142,000 above last year's transactions, and total is 3,368,000 for
It was a
income.
good season. It would have been nicer, well, for the rest of the state, except for like the tippy top north. We had just a couple more weeks, but it was a good season.
Well,
you could rock
you know what? The Northeast
one end to
Kingdom
the
got
other.
hit with a foot of snow this weekend. So that's great news. And if you look at their pages and people out riding, the thing is when we have a great year, we spend more on grooming, which is exactly what we're in the business to do. So it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was pretty excited about it. And everybody is when you talk to them out in the field too.
Yeah.
All right. Field. See, I'm talking my sales. That was my sales hat out in the field. My sales people. All right. Now we have the report. So we have Cindy's report. It's in her report. So if you need a little bit more detail versus what, she shared tonight, she has the stuff on the trail cameras in there and the towing waiver. And Cindy, on the DMV stuff, you're working with updating the manual with them too. So that.
Yeah, I sent them updates and they're supposed to update it and get it back to us. A lot of their stuff was outdated and redundant. So they're working on that. It's usually a 2-year piece with them. So I think they'll have it out in August. But that's the DMV snowmobile guide that they put out on their own.
Good. And all the legislation stuff is in there as well. Mandy, just a reminder that the video contest runs through April 15th. In her report, she had 13 video entries, just so you can see that. I think today, I think she stated 14. I think another one came in. And she's working on the spring course, the training construction course with Matt and Cindy. So to start communicating this out, the course will be available. It's in her report, May 1st through May 31st. Anybody looking for any kind of funding from Vast, including emergency funding, even though you don't have any projects planned this season, plan for the unexpected because Vermont delivers every year. you have to have taken that course. And then the chainsaw section is from May 1st through August 15th. So all that stuff's being finalized. You do have that in there to share with your county clubs. And then on Matt's stuff, just the biggest reminder, and I probably would have put it in red. The end of season grooming financial analysis is due by April 30th. Don't have any clubs miss that. Please start communicating that now, especially clubs that know that their trails are not going to be reopening due to weather at this point. There's no reason not to start working on that to get that in before April 30th. No reason to wait till the last minute, okay? And he does talk about equipment grants. So far, he's gotten 6 clubs that have submitted requests that might have interest in it. They may or may not submit, and there may be others that come in, but he does identify who those clubs are in his stuff as well. And then he talks a little bit about the GPS tracking, which he did talk about earlier as well. So again, the construction seminar, no later than May 31st. That's on the back of your agenda as well. And the grooming analysis, April 30th. Make sure you let the clubs know that, please, and thank you. You'll notice at the top where we have the board meetings on the agenda, the annual meeting is there listed now. So that's August 29th. It's earlier than it normally is. We usually have, according to the bylaws, it can be August or September. It is August 29th. So please make a note of that and start communicating and sharing that out. And the barn at the top of the world in Derby, if I have that correct, Roger, is where it will be. So,
Correct.
thank you, Mike. The summit meeting is scheduled for July 13th.
June 13th.
June 13th. What did I do? I wrote July and I pointed it to June. Thank you. June 13th. So I'm gonna, and we're planning to do an executive session there in conjunction with the personnel committee with Julianne. Since we're all in attendance together at that time, we'll do the executive session at the end of the day. Do we do a board meeting that day as well? A short one? Can we squeeze that in, do we think?
What did we do last year? Because we have in the past. But last year I think it was such a long day. Did we do an actual board meeting?
We did.
We did? I can't remember.
I think we did.
If we don't do it, then we have a board meeting the following week. So, because that's June 22nd.
I think we can do it that day. We just need the budget needs to be all done and everything by then. So that's really the pressing issue.
So I will make note of that and Ruth, if you keep me honest when we do next month's agenda to make sure that I update that to reflect that information. Dustin?
Do we have a location for the leadership agenda yet?
Yeah, Waterbury Fire Department.
Same place as last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, make sure I got all my notes here. Anybody, anything we didn't cover?
Ruth, who's doing the food?
I am hoping I'm hoping that we're gonna do what we did last year, and when I ran out to grab some, or did we?
Yes,
I gave you
are.
that contact.
Yeah, I'm just putting Ruth on the spot. Yeah, we're doing pizza and salad.
Okay, good. Zachary's.
Zachary's.
They do have other things, you can look at that, Cindy. They also do, pasta and all that other stuff. It doesn't.
Yeah, we'll probably do like a big pan of like ziti or spaghetti and then do some pizzas and some salads. I was just joking with you. I was putting her on the spot.
Chicken wings are fantastic.
Yep.
All right. Anything that we didn't discuss that anybody wants to bring up before we wrap tonight up? Thanks again for all that you guys do and for a great season. I know for some of the clubs, you're still out there in the middle of, well, at the end of your season. For others, it's pretty much done, but it was a great one. And it's nice to see when the weather cooperates with all the work that all the clubs put into getting ready for the season, that the membership actually gets out there and enjoys it, and all that hard work. It's nice to see the reward of that. So thank you to all of you. Much appreciated. If I don't hear of anything else,
Patty,
there we go, Julianne.
Yeah, so the ED evaluations will be going out this week to the board of directors. So if you have any questions or concerns, or if you want a different format, please just reach out to me or another member of the personnel committee, and we'll send it to you printed off or Word or whatever you need to have that done.
Thank you, Julianne. So look for an email from Julianne. All right. Anything else?
Bye,
Lamoille,
everybody. Thanks for what you
Lamoille
do.
makes a motion to adjourn at a 7:11 p.m.
7-Eleven, that's what I got too. I need a second.
Good night, everybody.
Essex
Second, wait.
second.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. That's it.
Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody. See you soon.
Bye,
Good night.
everybody.